Okay, it says we're live. So, from the crossroads of America, talk show about guns, politics, or anything else that crosses my mind. We'll answer questions from the audience, either put them in the chat or email me at rickslifeasiseeit at gmail.com or spottedrick at gmail.com. I got a Patreon page, PayPal, and all that other good stuff. It's all down in the info section below. So got that out of the way. All right, right now, I know we're just going live because right now, first in the chat room was Mystic Guns, then 2 Live Moo, and that's the only 2 I got in there right now. So people are just waking up or switching on or being a beautiful I don't know what it's like where you guys are, but it's a beautiful Saturday afternoon here in Southern Indiana. Doing the thing, But let's introduce my panel. My first guy hiding behind my chat screen here is the one and only Patriot in the Dark.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for having me, Rick. Appreciate it.
Yep. Then we've got Squibload.
Hey.
Let's see. Then we got Will and Well Armed.
How's it going? Great for everybody to show up today on a beautiful day.
Yeah. That's all we got in the panel at the moment. We did have Wheelchair Luke, but he might be having connection problems. All right. Oh, in the chat room now, the Gun Snobs joined us. Raphael, Vanessa, Jerry Parker. They're starting to drop in. So that's good to see. All right. My main topic, or a topic I chose, was I was just, thinking about some of the 2A cases that are hitting the courts right now. The main one hitting the Supreme Court. Then there's been a couple of other little victories along the way. But in the long term, is with the anti-gun rhetoric, is that the right word I'm looking for, going on out there, are we going to win or are we losing? Is what I was saying. I guess it depends on what I'm listening to, who I'm talking to. Because there's at times when I read the what's going on in the world or listening to the news, I'm the bad guy because I own the gun. This kind of thing. And I think it's bullshit. It's nice talking to. There's actually, believe it or not, there's people here in Indiana who are anti-gun, and I can't believe that, but there is, believe it or not. But in this part of Indiana where I'm at, it's a part of life here. Everyone carries, either open or concealed. So it's no big thing, and that's the way it should be. People shouldn't freak out if they see somebody with a firearm. I don't. But we have been. Well, I would say indoctrinated. Well, not me, but the kids for the last 30 years, starting with kids in school, have been indoctrinated with guns are bad. And which is wrong because I could have swore. We've all talked about this before. I remember, it wasn't every goddamn vehicle in the parking lot at school, but there was the odd truck that had their weapon in it in the back window, while it was in the parking lot and this kind of stuff. And I also remember that they used to have sort of like some sort of, I can't think what they called it, but some sort of gun safety sort of thing thrown in there too. I don't know if that fell under the gym class or what it fell under, but some sort of sport. And so that I remember doing it as a kid. I can't remember what the hell it was in, but anyway. So that's anyway, we're going to see how constitutionalists are Supreme Court is when they hear this case, unless New York changes the rules and tries to get it, by changing the law to get it mute again. But I don't know if they'll do that. But yeah, I guess it will be good that it will make, if it goes, minimum, if it goes our way in the Supreme Court, it will more likely make every state shall issue to get rid of the 5 or 6 states that are still may issue. The best case scenario, what I would love to see is for them to say, permits are all permits are unconstitutional. But I think we're asking too much for that. So I don't know. But that's what I'm thinking so far. I don't know. Sometimes in the long picture, I'm more likely to be dead by the time this comes around, but I'm thinking 20, 25, 30 years from now, the way we have firearms, can go in the gun store, buy them, walk around with them, and all this those days are going to be over. Because even today's mainstream TV shows, which I used to watch just for entertainment value, because you would see them busting into a house or whatever with their finger on the trigger. All their gun stuff was terrible and all this. But I used to watch it. I watch it just for entertainment. But now it's got so they've sort of politicized all TV shows now, and it really sucks. It really does. So, and it's all negative. It's all negative for the gun side of things. So, I don't know. Am I wrong? Patriot. Is 2A winning? Is freedom winning? Hit the mute button, Patriot.
He's on mute.
There you go. How you doing? Can you hear me now? Am I good?
Yeah.
What was the question? I'm sorry. You said is 2A winning?
Yes, or freedom winning. Because I'm thinking in 30 years.
As long as I'm not dead, it's winning. As long as each of us don't eat Cheetos and sit on the couch, as Squib says. Yeah. We have, 20, or I keep hearing 20, but I haven't went through each state, but constitutional carry in 20 states.
Yes.
And that's came over the last, 19 years or so, since 2000 or so. I don't know when it started, but that was the big push has been in the last, 2 years, 3 years, that there's been a big push for that. The rolling rock gets no moss. You got to stay vigilant. So I would say yes, but that's from my perspective, because I'm not sitting still. If you're sitting still, of course, things look bad. And if you're looking that direction, that's all you're focused on. I'm sure it's going to look bad, but that's not an excuse. So unless you decide you're happy with what you have and don't care, then I'm sure.
Yeah, but I think a lot of it's. I think a lot of which direction it's going, to me, is this Supreme Court case when it finally gets heard.
It really depends on what you're looking at. If you look at the nightly news, which I don't think anybody actually looks at. There's a lot of people that only look at the 6 o'clock news, local stuff. That looks a lot different than if you're looking at, people that are saying, the sky is falling, or, things are horrible. Anytime you focus on one section, you're going to get one bit of information, and that's going to push you some way.
But that's what I was
people
saying.
That say everything's great, then that's,
But that's what I'm saying. Everything, especially like on mainstream media, on TV.
I don't pay
Right.
attention to that.
I know, but even all the TV shows are pushing it anti-gun. That the gun is bad.
Well, yeah.
You know, I
Well,
mean,
that's
worse than ever. You know.
So, but when you go down to the diner, excuse me, sorry. When you go down to the diner, is everybody in there saying guns are bad?
No, I said that here in this part of India where I'm at. No, well, everybody's everybody's got a gun, either concealed or open carry. It's just normal here.
Yeah,
but
and I'm sure the next county might be the same.
But I'm just in a small pocket of the country. I mean, when I lived up in Rhode Island, the mention of a gun was like it was taboo subject. You couldn't talk about it.
Yes, but how big is Rhode Island? Is the next county over from you doing the same thing as Rhode Island, or closer to you? There's a lot of stuff in each of our states that you know. I mean, if you stay silent in your area, we
got Illinois next to us.
Yes, but what is Illinois controlled by? They're the ones that came up with those sanctuary counties before, you know, Oklahoma did. I'm sure of it. They were the ones that were really pushing it. And that whole summer that they said, no, we're not going to take this. We're going to be this way. It's because of Chicago, Cook County or whatever the hell that is. That's where all this negativity comes from.
Yeah.
Most of the state, if you ask Tony, I bet you Tony doesn't say his areas. They're coming after me. Anti-gun. You know, I would say the majority of Illinois is probably pro-gun. You know, there is areas that are bad. You know, just like Rhode Island. Yeah, but Rhode Island is not the country. You know. New England is like it has the same mindset
as Rhode Island, and New England covers a mighty lot of territory.
Yes, is Rob anti-gun? There's a lot of us out here. You just can't focus on and give up. I don't know. I came in late to this, and I was messing with this stupid PC because my issues, but so I might have missed a big section of this, but I don't. I think sitting in wherever you are listening to this is a lot better than those sitting in England listening to this, or France, or anywhere in Europe besides maybe the Czech Republic, because there's freedom.
I don't think so everywhere. Because most of those European countries haven't been able to have guns per se like we do over here for a couple of hundred years, for 100 years at least.
Yes, I would argue though anybody born has the exact same rights as if they feel that they've allowed somebody else to take them. That's
I agree.
Their parents and their grandfathers, but somebody that's born in is ready to stand up for it. It doesn't matter where you're from. So I would still say that there's a lot of people out here that need to come to realize that and not focus on some garbage that they hear in the news or some union paper that pushes out saying, hey, this is the way we're all going to lean. If I don't know, maybe I'm just having one of those days.
Hey, that's another good point we can bring up on this topic when I get to the next person is what you just said. Everybody is born with the right to defend themselves, right?
They're born with natural rights.
Yeah, okay.
If you think it's from God
but the only thing that separates us from most of the rest of the world, right, is the Second Amendment.
It's the Constitution.
You go in England, right?
Yeah, they don't have the
Constitution. And I go, it's my right. I was born with the rights to defend myself and all this. And I know what they're going to tell you. Yes, that's right. You have got that right, but you ain't got a right to a firearm.
Well, that's because of their education system. So yes, I would start to focus on what they're teaching kids, and when they want to say, no, school doesn't start at 5 years old, we want to start it at 2 years old now, right? And so there's a lot of things that are dangerous, and if you allow that to encroach on your family, and you're not doing your job of being a parent or an uncle, and you allow your brother's kids or whatever to soak up all this nonsense, and you're more worried about playing on your phone or the next fancy Glock that's coming out, and you don't do the work, that's on you. And that's something that you're going to have to deal with. And responsibility is the beginning of everything. If you're not responsible and you don't take up the work, and you say, screw it, it's not my job, I took care of my kid, and you let your brother's kids fall off, and you don't try at least, hey, we got to answer to something.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. But
Mr. Positive here, ask Squib. He knows what I'm talking about.
Well, I'm trying to get to him.
Oh, hi, Squib.
Have you finished?
Oh, no, I've never finished, but I'm in one of those moods, so I will mute.
Yeah, I can tell.
Hi, everybody. Hello, Sabrina.
Hey, Squib. So is 2A going to win, or are we winning?
Well, since I had time, I decided to write down some notes so I wouldn't lose my train of thought. And I don't think that Patriot took too long to address this. You're the one who asked the question, so that's the answer. Now, I'm going to circle back to the end of what Patriot said before I read off my notes to address what you asked, Rick.
Okay.
And the whole, I'm taking care of my kid, screw my brother's kid or my neighbor's kid or whatever it is. It's just everybody's got to take care of their own kids. If you start stepping into somebody else's life, trying to put your values on somebody else's kids, you're gonna get pushback. You'll definitely get it from me. I think I know where Patriot was going. Don't get me wrong. My anti-gun relatives, my anti-gun in-laws, they stayed with us one weekend, and I had my nieces reloading 44 Magnum. And they didn't say or do anything about it because I taught it like chemistry class. And there is science to reloading. There's chemistry and ballistics, physics, and all that in there. And I made sure I included that with what we were doing. So there are ways to do what Patriot's saying to get involved without crossing that line that, you don't want to do with another parent. Now, to address what you asked, Rick. Okay. So the first thing you were talking about there were kids in schools today are taught that guns are bad, and I strongly disagree with you. The schools can teach the kids whatever they want. Common Core math, everybody gets a trophy, guns are bad, vote for the demotards. They can do, but it's up to the parents to help these kids form their identity, to help them to be ready to get out in the world, to find themselves and make their own decisions once they're an adult. That doesn't mean that we're controlling them or twisting their arm or anything else like that. But my school, my local public school can tell my kids all day long guns are bad. My kids don't believe that horse shit because I've taught them firearm safety, because I've got them interested in guns, because they're armed, things like that. So it's the same thing with politics or anything else, Rick. Your kids can come home and go, I have to do this assignment saying how great Joe Biden is. Great, kid. We're going to do an assignment and we're going to do this. But Dad, you didn't vote for him. It doesn't matter. At a job, sometimes you have to swallow your pride and accept the paycheck. That's all you're doing here at school. I'm teaching you how to survive in the real world. The reality is that in this house, we think he's a piece of crap. Okay. But you don't say that at school. And I tell my kids all the time, don't say this at school. Don't talk about this at school. Don't tell anybody we have guns, stuff like that. Well, these are the sorts of things that you're.
Well, there you go.
But no. Because I don't talk about it at work either. Okay. And this is what I'm trying to teach them. I'm trying to teach them life skills. This isn't guns are bad. No. It's none of the school's business how I voted. It's none of the school's business if we have guns. It's none of the school's business just like it's not the doctor's business or anything else. I'm teaching my kids how to get through life without giving up their privacy for somebody who's going to possibly flunk them, fire them, you name it, over the fact that there's a difference in opinion. I want my kids to understand that they are individuals and they can have their own opinion, and their beliefs may change one day. They may meet the wrong girl and fall in love, and she's a hardcore lefty, and everything I taught them went out the window. That's a risk that I take as a parent. Having kids, that's a risk I take. But I'm not worried about what the schools teach. My son loves to tell me the horse shit they tell him to do that he gets straight A's on, and then tell me the truth about how history really worked, or how you really add these together, or what the law is, or other things like that. My kids are not stupid. So if somebody else wants to teach their kids to be stupid, teach their kids to be sheep, teach their kids, that all this stuff is good, that's their choice. That's their home. I'm not going into their home telling them how to raise their kids. Don't come into my house telling me how to raise mine. So I wouldn't worry about it, Rick. I honestly wouldn't worry about the kids in the school system. Now, the next part was about the Supreme Court. I said this last night on a budget show. The Supreme Court, in my opinion, is not going to do anything for us. They are not. They are either going to postpone it. They're not going to hear it. They're going to vote against it. They're going to push it back on a lower court. I don't know, but just based off of what I've seen, I have no faith in the Supreme Court. If I'm wrong, great for everybody. But I just don't, and I'm not one of these people who says we shouldn't take these things to the Supreme Court, because then we could lose more. I'm willing to risk it, but I just don't see them doing their job, and nobody can hold them accountable. That's a lifetime appointment. They answer to no one. Do you think they care what your opinion is? No, they don't. So I don't see them helping us out. The last part of what you were talking about, to answer it, I want you to go into your living room right now, stop broadcast, or just, walk away from your camera, come back, go in your living room right now, grab your TV, rip it off of wherever you've got the wall on a whatever it is, and walk it out to the trash can and throw it in the trash can. Quit watching TV, Rick. Quit watching TV.
I watch less TV today than I ever watched. I watch, shows and YouTube and all kinds of stuff on my TV. Actually, mainstream TV, I watch very little of it now. And as soon as my contract is over with Dish, because I can only get satellite out here, cable don't run out this far. As soon as my contract runs out with Dish, I'm getting rid of them too. And just keeping my internet and watch streaming programs.
Good, because this TV stuff it might not be affecting my kids, but it's definitely affecting you. How'd I do, Patriot?
Yeah, okay. Now, before going on to the next person, you're taking up space. I know it's unlimited space in here, but you're taking up 2 spaces, Squib. But just out of curiosity, I don't know if you realize your other one's still on.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I'm stacking the deck.
All right. I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't sure if you knew. But back to the schools. Yes, we should care what the schools teaching our kids, right? And as you said, you teach them enough to get on this road. But how many times, if you were bullied at school, or a kid that is being bullied at school, how long does it take for his parents to find out he's being bullied? Because a lot of times they won't take it. So what I'm going with this, back to the gun thing, guns are bad, is your kids won't talk about it in school. And if they do mention it, or if somebody finds out, they get shamed in school for being that way, thinking that way. And that is what...
It's the same thing at a job, Rick.
Yeah.
Me telling them to shut their mouth at school is the same thing as me telling them how to survive at a good paying job with good benefits. Okay. And your employer has the right to fire you because they disagree with your politics. Your employer has the right to fire you if they think you're making other employees, at least in my state, we're at will. Maybe not in your state. This is like the fucking car insurance stuff. Maybe not in your state, but in my state, they can just walk up to you and go, "You're fired." Now, you can sue It's not easy to do. It is possible, but it's not. But they can just fire you for any reason at any time, and that's that. Okay. So me teaching my kids to shut their mouth at school is me teaching them to shut their mouth at work.
Yeah. See, now that is, I mean, be honest with you, I had a very hard time doing that at work.
Me too.
I disagree with that.
You know, but we're getting to you. We're getting to you. So, I just had a hard time. I still to today having a hard time keeping my mouth shut. You know, but
Rick, it's not about whether or not my opinion is if it's right or wrong. Okay, my opinion on a lot of things is this isn't right. Welfare, I don't agree with it. Income tax, I don't agree with it. But you know what? We have welfare and income tax. Schools can say we have a dress code. Schools can say we don't talk about politics or religion, or this is considered hate speech, or whatever the hell they want to do. I don't have to agree with it. I have to abide by it. It's the same thing at work. I can't show up to work drunk. Okay. I have to be on time, right? I have a uniform I'm supposed to wear. I have certain responsibilities I have to take care of every day. It's the same difference. I can say, I don't agree with any of this stuff. I should be able to drink on the job, show up whenever I want, and do. No.
You have to join the union for that. But
yeah, no kidding.
I would add something to that, though, is if you don't like it and you feel that you can't mention it, that's when you get off your duff. I'll use one of those English words, right? A duff, and get on the school board or start going to the school meetings to get stuff changed. That's part of that. You know, they don't like that. Well, then get that guy out of there. You know, yeah, I know some schools you can't, but that's why you can move. You can go to another school. I know that's not popular or whatever, but like my kid, she goes to a good school, so. But if there's something I don't like, I pay taxes. That's another thing. I pay taxes. I have a say in this. You know, It might not be very popular or whatever, and I might, not make it on the school board, but I can say whatever, but just like anything, you got to pay the consequences if you do something and you get fired. So, learn enough so that you can work for yourself.
My kid's at school for academics and after school sports, and that's it. Anything beyond that, it's a two-way street. He doesn't talk about it, and he doesn't care what they talk about. And that's all that matters. Graduate, get your GPA, have your transcripts, do as well as you want to do in sports, and then move on with your life. Because you know what? When you go to college, it's going to be the same thing. If you want that bachelor's degree at this college you're paying an arm and a leg to go to, and the professor doesn't like you, okay, that's going to affect your GPA. So you shut your mouth in college and you do what you got to do, and you get out of there with that degree that helps you get that job or whatever it is. That's just life. That's all it is. I don't have to agree with it, but I need to know how to play the game.
Oh, I know how to play the game. I just don't like playing it. I just don't like playing it.
I don't either.
You know?
And when I haven't played the game, it's cost me dearly.
It has
dearly.
Me.
Yes. But you know what? I'm not the person who owns the company, because it can go the other way too. If I owned my own factory, I could decide to hire people that were conservatives or whatever it is, or, and I could give you the day off paid for going to a 2A rally if I want to as the boss, but I don't own a factory or in some other business, and it's not because somebody's holding me back. It's because I seriously don't want to deal with the horse shit. I've looked into starting my own business and I just don't want to do it. But if I was motivated to do that, maybe that's what I would do. Maybe I would have stuff like that. And that's up to me. And if my business fails because my customers don't like what I do, then that's my choice. That's my cross to bear. But for right now, I'm doing the best I can. I think I'm doing fine. And I think I'm teaching my kids how to make it through this world. There's more to just teaching them how to change a tire and actually do real math, than there's more to it than academics.
True.
So you mean you didn't learn how to add numbers by drawing a box and splitting it and putting some curly Q's and little flowers on the side? And then
when my kid's showing me,
I get mixed up. If you draw a square, it's a.
when my kid's showing me the way I was taught how to do math and then the way they want him to do it, and he knows the difference, and he points at the way that they're showing him and he goes, Dad, this is retarded, I know everything's fine.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Let's move on. Will and Well Armed. What's your take on it all?
All right. So I'm going to go to the original question, and it is, are we winning, the 2A battle? And,
yeah.
There's a long term and the short term, but short term riots in America are good for 2A, right? 100%. I mean, you look at all the polls, Langley Tactical picked this up this week. The 18 to 35-year-old, that's the biggest group. That's the main group we should be looking at. They're up 18% pro-gun in the last 12 months. So that's the 18 to 35. That's one of the biggest demographics moving, and that's who everybody's looking at. Hispanic, they're up to 50% now. They went from like 39 to 50%, and that's up 11%. And then the blacks are up 10% gun ownership. So these might not be conservative voters, but they are pro-gun. That's number one. Number two, this is what I think we really have to look after. And remember back in 2000 when the vote was decided by Attorney General in Florida and the district attorneys, it became so important. And George Soros started the organization to get Democrat district attorneys in everywhere. Well, now that's all coming home to roost, and I'll tell you why. When a policeman arrests a conservative, and the DA is, hardcore lefty loony, that charge is going to go across. So the little lady that was, 55 years old, drove from Pennsylvania over to New Jersey Bridge, made a mistake, got caught at the bridge. They searched her car. She's going to jail for 4 years. Nobody's going to drop that. Everybody knows it was a mistake. They know she's not a gangbanger, and they know she's not going to shoot anybody. But she just happened to go into from one Democratic zone to a more strict Democratic zone and get arrested for it and get to pay the fine. And nobody's going to drop that. She never had a crime before, no weapons crimes. Where, you like, where was it this past summer? A guy robbed a bank. 3 different banks, was arrested 3 different times in 24 hours that were released before the police even finished the paperwork. That's what's going on with, lefties and how they treat criminals. So if you're on the conservative side, expect the full book to be thrown at you. If you're on the loony side, expect to get released. It's jail and release as quick as possible. And not only that, when Trump started arresting, in Seattle and in Portland, when the Democrat DAs were just releasing those rioters and calling them peaceful protesters and was just releasing them, and even arsonists and bombers and guys that were throwing serious class 4 fireworks at policemen, trying to burn down police stations. All these guys were released. So Trump started doing federal crimes against them, and that really shook them up. And now Biden's in office, he dropped all those charges. It didn't make it in the news, but he did. He dropped it all. So there's a lot to be said on the importance of who your state attorney general is and who your local DA is. So make sure you vote for the right guy and make sure everybody knows how important it is. That's more important than your governor at this point. That's kind of it. So I think we're winning, but I think we need to really keep a close eye on the attorney general and DAs and who we're letting in. That's kind of my take of it all.
Okay. So now you started off short term and long term. Now is that short term we're winning?
Yeah, I think short term we're winning with the battle. I think with the educational system that we have, we're losing, and we're going to continue to lose. And I'm also worried about people leaving these big metropolitan areas and coming into cities like Atlanta. I mean, here I'm in District 6, and this is Newt Gingrich's seat. And now we've got Lucy McBeth, whose son was killed by gangbangers, and I'm not sure if he was one or not, but it's not the same as gun crime. I mean, gun crime is not a gangbanger. That's just violence. And I mean, it's easier to go after the gangs, but they're not going after the gangs. They're like, hey, it's not the gang's fault; it's the gun's fault. Well, no, it's the person's fault. It's the person that pulled the trigger. It's not the tool that was sat there. So criminals are not going to turn in their guns, and regular people will. If it becomes law of the land that you're going to be a felon to own a semi-automatic, that means anything more than a revolver or a musket or a single shotgun, is going to be illegal. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to turn in their weapons, and it's real dangerous. So we need to make sure you're taking people to gun range. I mean, I had an appointment with a therapist that was working on my neck, and I started talking about gun ownership and shooting, and he said, "Oh yeah, I'm thinking about getting a Glock," and I was like encouraging him, like he's from Israel, he was in the Israeli army. We started talking about that and how he used to carry a Glil. Yeah, it's a pretty badass gun. So he was like, "Are there any Israeli guns?" I'm like, "Yeah, there's some Israeli guns. Masada, the plastic one that it's kind of they call it the Glock killer because it's got the optic ready and real good night sights already on it, ready to go out of the box. It's $450 versus $650 if you can find a good Glock." So anyway, I sent him some texts. I sent him some videos on YouTube. So maybe get him moving in the direction. And so one step at a time, but short term we're winning as long as we're having these. I think police got to play a key role. When you get the call for the affluent neighborhood that somebody's doing a home invasion, don't go to anybody's home for a home invasion. Let them beg the police to do their job again. Stop hiring Democrats to let people off. So let the police make these things up and slow walk it. Hey, there's a stabbing. Okay, I'll be there tomorrow.
Hey, Wild, if your doctor is talking about a Glock, you might want to get a second opinion. I'm just saying.
Yes, Rob was thinking, but I've kept my mouth shut.
Or grab his prescription pad and write him a script for 1911.
I sent him a link for Honest Outlaw shooting the IWI Masada. Also sent him a link for CZ polymer. Just to give him some choices out there that are not Glock, that are ready to go. Have a better trigger, have a better sights. So they're out there.
Yeah. Okay. On the New York Outcast, what I want, well armed. You have faith in the Supreme Court?
No.
I didn't say you are. I said well and well armed.
Yeah, I don't have any faith in John Roberts. I think he's a shield, a plant, the wrong guy. I don't know what happened to the guy that went in front of Congress and stood tall, and the guy that's hiding behind the desk right now. So, we got a mouse, trying to fill that robes.
But theoretically, we don't need
him. Because it's 6-3.
Well, no, because you've got what's his name, Alto, isn't it? How you pronounce it? And you got Thomas, right? Then this is where I'm saying technically we don't need him. Then you got Gorsuch, then you got Kavanaugh, then you got Barrett. That's 5. Yep. That'd be 5-4. Theoretically.
Right. Yeah, so if you put him on the Democrat side always.
Yeah.
Okay. So he's no longer the Kennedy vote. He's just purely on the left, and you're saying we still have him.
Yeah. If all those ones who theoretically are meant to be constitutionists vote the correct way,
But can't he alone stop something? Because I don't understand how his particular seat outweighs everybody else. It seems like he can alone say this is not going to be heard. Why is his seat greater to the rest? I mean, it's not because he's been here the longest. It's not tenure.
No, because he's the chief. He got appointed the Chief Justice.
Yeah, but how did that process happen? Because the Chief Justice died and he replaced him. I mean, who gets to decide who is a Chief Justice? Can they re-vote for that?
I don't know. Yeah. Well, anyway, let's move on to New York Outcast. And I did.
Are you sure, Rick? Are you
Yes.
sure you're sure?
I am sure. And what I said was, before we go on to New York, I asked Will and Will Armed about his trust in the Supreme Court.
Okay, well, that's not the way it sounded. And as a guy who's already made one video about this, I'm not about to do another one. I just wanted to verify that.
I could be wrong, but I could have sworn that's what I said.
Oh, shit. Here comes the
If
playback.
I'm wrong, I do apologize, Rob. But I thought that's what I said. Okay, go for it.
All right. Obviously, no, I don't have trust in the courts. We'll see what happens, but I think the system's been flaunted in front of us as a joke here for a little while now. So we will see. As far as the schools, I think you're crazy to just go along to get along, personally. That's just me. I think you're supposed to teach your kid to stand alone, to be a leader, to say no when something's wrong and not go along with it because you'll lose your job or whatever the case is. Have some balls, have some self-respect. I personally would rather have a solid individual morally as a child than a wealthily successful one. Now that's just me. And I do think you do have a choice with the school system because you can do something. You can move or you can try to PTA, but when they laugh in your face and this and that, understand you have a limited time with your child. And when they spend so much time in school under influence, you can state what you want to. Psychologically, it's a fact. They're going to pick up habits that aren't good. It just is what it is. And if, it's garbage in, it's garbage out. There is exceptions. So I'm not saying everybody's kid is that way or whatever, but just saying if you truly care and you know there's something wrong, it's your responsibility as a parent to do something besides just say, well, that's what everybody does. That's all we can do. That's letting your kid down, take an easy road out. So the schools are definitely a problem. That's one of my pet peeves, in my opinion. So, and people's lack of energy to change, in a sense, to do something different, to take a pay cut, to stay home, to whatever. You had a kid, most people will die for their kid. So, tell them no on their fifth candy bar, do what you got to do for them. That's just my opinion. Because I think honestly, all this shit starts at home and in the beginning. So if we're just training kids to go along to get along, they're going to fall right into a crooked system and go along to get along. So we're never going to get anything different.
Okay. So what about the 2A thing? Are we winning or are we losing?
I don't think we're winning. I haven't been following the news a lot, but in my opinion, I haven't seen a lot of change yet. There's been little things here and there, but on a whole, we started with basically no gun laws and we still have a shitload, and we're dodging and hoping things are going to change. And, maybe we get rid of a card here, or maybe this gets passed there. We're still sitting here with our thumb up our ass, hoping somebody else is going to fix a problem. So, like I said, I don't have faith in the system.
I got a question for Outcast.
Yeah.
So you go to a customer's house, they got a job for you to do, you can do it, there's some profit in it, whatever. And before you agree to it, before you've gone and bought the materials or scheduled the time, they start talking politics and they go, yeah, I voted for Joe Biden. Do you go, oh, sorry, I can't take this job, you voted for Joe Biden, and then walk away?
Sometimes, yeah. I've actually turned down a job because a guy insisted he was going to pray for me, and I took it as an insult. I've walked out of, I can't tell you how many different employment places in the past. I don't work for people I can't deal with or respect one kind of long term, especially as an employee. Like, I don't know, hesitant to say certain things, but I will jack my boss up. Like, you're not going to fuck with my money. Like, it's just what it is. I'm not going to get too into things, but we all have a place. As long as I do my part, I expect my part to be dealt with successfully, whatever. It's not an issue. I don't think you should have to. It's almost like a battered wife or something, or think of your daughter. People out there with daughters, you want her with a guy she's got to basically bow down to, jump through hoops, make sure everything's right, walk on broken glass, or else she's going to lose everything. Have to fight for the kids. She's got no income. Blah 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 blah. You probably don't want that for your kids. Same thing, son or your kid through the system. I mean, I don't want them to be dependent or degrading themselves, to deal with somebody's shit so they can get through to another paycheck. That's one of my worst fears.
Degrading yourself and being quiet are two different things.
It's true. You can pick your battles, but when it comes to a moral issue, something you're strong on, I've come home without a paycheck.
Yeah, pick your battles is probably a good way to put it.
Yeah. See, and where I was going was I'm not always the smartest on picking my battles. I've done stuff that I've paid dearly for, and I had a family to take care of too, and I fucked everything up all around, But looking back on it, would I have done it different? No, I'm afraid not. I got. There's certain things I just won't do, and that's it. I've quit jobs because I didn't like the person or people I was working with because of their politics or their attitudes. You just, I'm the one who's got to. It's like I'm the one who's got to be there, and I can only take so much shit for so long. I can't do it day in, day out. It drives me insane. But anyway, so all right, we got through that one, I think. Okay, Gizzard Gary said Robert was appointed Chief Justice by President George W. Bush in 2005. So the president appointed him. So I'm assuming he's the Chief Justice for the rest of his term, as long as he's there. And when he dies, the president will choose another one. Now, doesn't mean that I think I could be wrong, but it doesn't mean the next judge that he appoints becomes the Chief Justice. He could pick one that, for argument's sake, Roberts dies or retires or whatever. And I'm going that we've got a half-assed decent president in the House, not the one we got now. But for argument's sake, so we got the vacancy. He nominates somebody for the Supreme Court, but then he nominates, say for argument's sake, what's her name? Coney Barrett as the Chief Justice. I think that's how it works. I could be wrong, though.
Well, I think in that particular example, it wasn't that way. I think the Chief Justice died and Roberts replaced him, or he retired and Roberts replaced him, and he became that. So I'm not sure if you have to pick that one that just happens to be the lucky guy out of the 9. He gets to be the chief. I'm not sure if you could appoint somebody different and add a new one.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is Roberts. There's 2 or 3 who have been there longer than Roberts.
Exactly.
So the W. Bush chose him as the Chief Justice.
No, that's not what he was voted in and chosen at the same time. He was fresh off the bench, never been on the bench before when he was made Chief Justice. Somebody look it up. I don't think that's.
So, yeah, but what I'm saying, okay, that's what I was trying to say. Is the next when somebody retires, say Roberts retires or dies, who's ever president gets to nominate a new Supreme Court justice. It doesn't automatically mean that one becomes the Chief Justice, I don't believe. I believe the president can, or whatever, they can choose somebody else to be.
What if Roberts just says, "I want to give up being the chief president. Please appoint somebody else." And he does that under Bush, or he does that under somebody else.
I'll have to look it up. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I think we need to know that, so maybe we can put that on.
I can't do that and talk at the same time. I'm not that well coordinated.
All right, I'll see if I can find it real quick offline.
But yeah, I think, as I said, I mean, I won't be alive, but I think our rights are slowly disappearing because we're not winning. They want us to. They keep saying compromise, compromise. They have never compromised a damn thing. They haven't ever given one thing back they've taken from us, not one. So that I can recall. And I said I haven't been in guns that long, but I studied the history.
So, Rick, recently, what rights have we lost?
Do what?
Recently, what rights have we lost?
Recently, now it's not a outright right, but it's part of a right. All these gun laws are all against the Second Amendment, the right of the Second Amendment. So theoretically, what the anti-gunners say, or the politicians who are against guns, they're saying we're not touching your Second Amendment. You can still have a gun, but you can't have this one. And we say that is against our Second Amendment rights.
But in the past 6 months, what gun control law has happened that has restricted our rights further than what they were 6 months ago?
In the last 6 months, none. In the last couple of years, there has been bump stocks for one.
Nobody gives a shit about bump stocks.
Look
at all of the but it is the point. Look at all of the constitutional carry states. Look at some of the cases that have been overturned, or they keep going back and forth, keeping the ball in play as opposed to calling it quits on something.
But see, you're going back, the federal government, unfortunately, federal government laws trump state laws. So the federal government
hasn't passed any anti-gun laws in a long time.
If you have constitutional carry or not.
But there's no federal law. They haven't. Okay, Biden's been up there running his mouth. He hasn't done a damn thing. What did you think Obama did for 8 years? He ran his mouth. Did he do anything? He didn't do a damn thing. Until it happens, I wouldn't worry about it. That doesn't mean sit on your ass and do nothing, but I wouldn't worry about it. I wouldn't even lose a minute's sleep over it. Additionally, the Supreme Court hearing this case, they're not going to hear it till freaking September. A lot can happen between now and September. So I don't even care about it, even though I've been on 2 shows where we've talked about it. Now 3, I guess. I don't even care until after they start talking about it, or until after it's over. It hasn't happened. It's not a problem. Anything can change. They can rattle their saber all they want. He can talk about infrastructure and putting money into this. Have they built one bridge? Have they put up one wind turbine? About the only thing that the administration has done, the federal government has done so far, really, is the issues at the border. They've screwed that up royally. Okay. Other than that, the things take time. So we have time. They have time. Look at how many states in the past 6 months have passed constitutional carry. What's it been, 2 or 3 in 6 months? That's not bad.
Yeah, you're right. But
and two others were talking about it, but they skipped out on it. They backed out on it. So we could have
I know
5.
one of them's ours. One of them's my state. Pisses me off. I understand what you're saying, and it's harder to do it at the federal level to change those. But they're in a more powerful position to do it today than they've ever been. Because the only thing stopping them from pushing their shit is the same, which people seem to forget when they go, Trump didn't do anything for us in his first 2 years. He didn't have the 60 votes. And that is what's stopping them today. They don't have the 60 votes. But if they can find a way to kill that filibuster, then you might as well kiss your ass goodbye. So that's all I'm saying.
That hasn't happened either. They haven't got rid of the filibuster. They haven't made Washington, D.C. a state. They haven't. How many of these things get tossed around and get held up in committee?
But in the last 20 years, this is the closest they've got to doing those things.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
20 years ago, you didn't even give a shit about guns, so don't tell me that, Rick.
I'm just what I read in history. I'm just saying it's been this is the closest they've got to doing what they want.
1934 was.
Not
now. 1934 was. How would you like it if every handgun, no matter what it was, single shot, doesn't matter, was on the NFA? That almost happened in 1934. That's the closest they've got to really putting us in some hurt. I'm not saying what we have is great. It could be better. It should be better. Hopefully it does get better. But talk is cheap. Until it happens, it hasn't happened. They can say whatever they want. But until it happens, it hasn't happened.
But once it happens, once they make a law, it's very almost nearly impossible to get it changed. So you can't afford to let it happen.
I'm not saying let it happen, Rick, but you're getting worried about stuff that hasn't happened. They can talk all they want. Gizzy Gary put it out there in the chat. They've talked about statehood for D.C. for the past 20 or 30 years, yet still hasn't happened, has it?
No, because it all comes down to the votes. It all comes down to the votes and the filibuster. Is why a lot of this stuff is not happening. And as long as we can keep the filibuster, but the problem is how many of the, as of right now, it's basically a two-party system. We know it shouldn't be, but that's basically what we got. And as long as for argument's sake, the Republicans hold strong, the filibuster is not going to go away. But we know we got a bunch of rhinos in there, and it won't take many for them to be able to get the 60 votes to get rid of the filibuster. We're closer to it today than we've been in years. That's all I'm trying to say. So it comes
Politicals.
down. So when it comes to, you need to. Yes, state level things are going great on most state levels on that, but the overall big picture is not looking good. I'm afraid, because it goes back to what I was saying. We're rearing our children to not like guns. And as they get, as we die off and they come in and they come into their thing, it's going to be eventually you're going to have 98% of Congress not liking guns. That's all I'm saying. I'm looking at the long-term picture. If we let stuff keep going in the schools as they are today, it is going to affect that in the end. It's got to.
Nope, it won't.
All right. I just have to agree to disagree with you.
I agree with you, Rick.
Rick, when I was a kid in the 70s, everything was all about hunting. I didn't know anybody that carried back then. My dad carried only when he was in Atlanta and only when he had large amounts of money, from a job he was getting paid in cash on. But besides that, he never carried. But he had a pistol with him in his truck all the time, but he just never carried it on person. But and that was the far exception. I mean, most people didn't even have pistols, semi-automatic pistols. There were no ARs, they were hunting rifles and shotguns. And a lot has changed in the last 40 years, a lot. So that's all I'm saying.
But Will, do you know why it wasn't common for people to carry, or why it wasn't common for people to own AR-15s back then?
No, I don't really know why.
I can tell you exactly why. Because all of the anti-gun laws that have been passed and all of the anti-gun laws that have been proposed have brought attention to the Second Amendment, have brought attention to firearms ownership, have brought attention to things like concealed carry. In my state, the only way you could conceal carry in the past is if you were a retired cop or you owned a business. We went from may issue to shall issue because it got popular. These companies start cranking out guns like they've never made them before. They start selling concealed carry holsters and other things. It's not like this stuff didn't exist. It just wasn't commonplace. Nowadays, you go to buy a gun, the first thing they ask you for is your concealed pistol license because they don't want to, call NICS or something like that. But all of that stuff wasn't commonplace. The fact that these anti-gunners brought it to the surface and made it an issue, suddenly people who never cared, who only owned that hunting rifle, suddenly said, hey, wait a minute, you ain't taking away my rights. And then they're like, hey, what's this concealed carry stuff? Then people start realizing we can make money off of this. Next thing you know, there's a push in the state to go from may issue to shall issue. Now you're kind of oddball if you don't have a concealed carry permit or whatever else it is. So their plans, their best laid plans can backfire on them. The 1994 crime bill, the 10 years where you couldn't buy all this stuff that you could buy, by the way, you could buy it all damn day long and it wasn't illegal, got so many people into guns who never cared before. We only had like 4 companies making AR-15s before this. During this, companies came out of the woodwork and started making all kinds of things that worked within the law, or finding out, wow, man, this $400 guns now worth $1,200. Hell yeah, I'm going to open up a factory. And every time there's a shortage or every time there's a law proposed or something like that, look at how the prices go up. Capitalism has made more gun owners than any of these Second Amendment rights groups or anything else like that. So let them do what they want. Let them do what they want. We are going to keep fighting. And if anybody thinks, man, we could just get one Supreme Court case and it's all over with, you're lying to yourself. The fight will never end. I don't want to fight. I don't want to waste my time doing this. I'd rather do the show talking about gun stuff than talking about politics. But the reality is it's a thing that's in our face every day. Taking time off work to go to a rally and all the other things. But the thing is, that's how we fight back. And it has worked. And I can't stand being so positive. Why isn't Patriot saying this shit?
The culture's changed too, though, in that time period.
Yeah.
People used to have respect for their family name, values, things like that. And now they don't give a shit. So, general people, that goes back kind of that old go along to get along in a sense. People don't want to stand out or be different or say no or whatever the case is. So, look at how it was, the late 70s with the gangs, early 80s, everything. I mean, it was pushed through modern culture, rap music, everything. It's kind of scripted in a way. So people have gone from being able to get punched in the face and, shake hands or whatever the next day and hang back out or just stay away from each other to, you embarrass me, so now I got to kill you. There's a difference. Like, people have gotten softer. They can't take an ass whooping and deal with it. They're too precious nowadays. So everything turns out to be a murder or a shooting or attempted murder. So, and then you had the response to that, to people that have been victimized and other people that don't want to deal with that shit. So they're going to arm up too. So I think, it's probably a jumble of a lot of different things, but culture always stems back there. Home, the raising of people always stems back there. That's what we see nowadays. Kid gets denied by a girl, he ends up going and shooting the place up or something, or feels he's entitled and tries to force himself on somebody or something. And we hear about it more and more and more. I'm not saying things like this didn't happen back then, but back then your neighbor would kick your ass if you were getting out of line. Your parents didn't hesitate, this and that. It was, please, don't tell my dad to the police. Not, now where they don't give a shit and the parents will come in and tell you off too and not care. Same thing at the schools. Try dealing with one of these kids' parents at the school, see how it works out when you get one of them stupid ones. We'll just call it that. But you ain't gonna get nowhere. So I think the culture has a lot to do with that too, and how things have progressed, even just through the gangs alone, in a sense. On average, people are pussies these days.
Yeah. Real quick. A couple things I want to mention is what you call it. How can I put this without? Let me get to the other part first, then I'll go to the second part. I'm doing it the backwards, right? Is Squib goes in the chat here. Nix takes 5 minutes or less. I got time. Well, I don't know. Well, I can't speak for Michigan, but I recently bought that AR 3 weeks ago. And when I bought what was the gun I bought before that? The 45 Colt. Each time, because of what's happening with the with the COVID going on in a lot of places. Anyway, Nix is so backed up. I've sat both times 30 minutes in the store waiting for Nix to clear me. Because all it's doing is spinning. They're just waiting for somebody to look at it. And I remember when it was 5 minutes, but it ain't anymore. Not in Indiana anyway. The second thing I want to mention, I wish I lived in a state that if you have your concealed carry permit, that you walk into the store, buy your gun, and walk out, you bypass the NICS checks because you've had one or whatever to get the carry permit. Now, this might sound a bit fuddish. I don't agree with permits anyway, but that's another thing. But they're here, so we have to. To carry a gun, we follow what the law states, and we get our permits. So you have to live in the state where you get the permit, and it bypasses the next when you buy a gun. What happens? Of course, you're not going to tell anybody. But what happens if you've done something that made you a person that is not allowed to own a firearm anymore? But you have do they notify somebody to take your permit away from you? So what's stopping you if you're a prohibited person, but you've got a CCL because you've had it for a couple of years? You go in the store and buy a gun. Something's not doesn't jive for me, or am I missing something?
You're saying I get my concealed carry in the state of Georgia, and then anytime I fill out a 4473, I think that's what it's called, it just stays in that file box and never is actually dialed up the NICS and not approved because I've got my CCW here in Georgia. And so 3 years after I have it, I get accused of beating my wife, or maybe I am a wife beater, maybe I am a kid beater, a domestic abuser, maybe I'm on crack as well. Just typical Joe Biden son stuff, Hunter Biden stuff. But yeah, you're right. I don't think there's any provision for
They take your card. They take your card. It's like when you get pulled over for a DUI and they take your driver's license and they tow your vehicle. They take your card. Okay. You have to get either accused of something that they think that it's where you're a threat, or you have to get charged with something like that, and they take your card.
Okay, so if I just unofficially start doing crack and just don't self-report or I'm not arrested, then I can.
They
still,
don't know. No,
Yeah.
they have no clue.
Right.
Okay, so for argument's sake, say you done something that, I mean, even if you, okay, I know none of us would be like that, but domestic violence or whatever, you hit your wife or your wife hit you or whatever, and you got arrested. They would look, so the local police department who's arresting you, or I would imagine it waits till it gets to the district attorney's office, then they run a background check on you to see what licenses you have.
No, dude, they've got. Okay, I guess they could do that. They could do that because when they run your stuff, when you get pulled over in a traffic stop, they know you have a concealed carry permit. You know that, right? They know that.
Not in every state.
Okay, well, I guess if you live in some sort of fucked up state, they don't. But pretty much the rest of the mature adult grown world, they know. Okay, but you're talking about the cops are coming into your house. All right, they might be taking your ID. They might even take the guns with them before they leave. If you're in there on a domestic or something else like that. Now, sure, I understand. Different places have different rules, whatever. I'm talking in general. So, but if you're saying, because I decided to do drugs for the first time today and I've had this concealed carry permit for 10 years, it doesn't do anything. Well, no kidding, it doesn't. But if you're saying, well, why isn't it stopping me from getting a gun? You're quantifying the anti-gunner's argument that you have to have a permit. So I don't understand why you're even going with that line of questioning.
Oh, well, I told you I was being fuddish on that one. And I was curious how it worked. If you broke the law or something, but you were in one of those states that allow,
okay. All right. So you've never known anybody that's gotten in a domestic and the cops said somebody's going with us and they take somebody and they don't necessarily release them back to that house, that night. There's different procedures with regard to that stuff, but you open yourself up to a can of worms if you break the law and the cops do their job. It's when they don't do their job, when they overstep their bounds, when you haven't broken the law. That's the thing you should be more concerned about.
Okay. I mean, as you said, in most states that when they run your driving license, it's going to show that you have a carry permit anyway.
Yeah, our CPL has our photo ID. It's the same image on your driver's license as your state ID as your CPL. It's all in the same system. So when they do pull you over and they look at your license plate, they know who's registered to that car. They know that you have a firearm or that you're able to have.
Yep.
My state's not like that.
There is no
I
question.
bought a gun with an arrest warrant.
Well, there's a lot of that stuff. If you haven't been convicted of something, of course they're not going to, if you have something hidden and nobody knows about
if you're convicted of something, that makes you a prohibited person.
Like your driver's license. They pull you over, they already have it flagged. You say, hey, my name is, whatever, and they look it up on their little computer there. They know that, oh, this guy's driving with a, revoked license? It's the same thing. It's all in the same system.
If somebody has a revoked license and they still have their vehicle and they let you borrow it and a cop gets behind you and runs the plate, they're not going to know that you're borrowing their vehicle. They're going to assume you are them. And if you don't, in my state, you have to declare that you have a concealed pistol license and whether or not you're carrying or not carrying. Well, I forgot to. The first time I got pulled over right afterward, I forgot to. And the cop called for backup and freaked out. I've got no criminal record whatsoever. Fucking ever. I was pretty pissed off.
Yeah, but you didn't do what was required. You didn't inform.
The next time after that, I got pulled over. This is back when I used to get a lot of tickets. I got pulled over not long after that. And when the cop came up, I said, "Officer, I want to let you know I have a CPL and I'm currently not armed." And he goes, "What's a CPL?" Dumb cops. What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they ain't got a clue?
So, yeah, I mean, like in Indiana, you don't have to inform the police that you're carrying, but as you said, if they're running your license, it should say that you're a permit holder anyway.
And when I got popped in Ohio last year, when I was heading out to meet up with Outcast, I don't know if you have to declare in Ohio or not. I've been told, and I can't remember. Now, I don't have a permit anymore. I let it expire because whatever. And he did ask me at a certain point, do you have any guns in the vehicle? It wasn't the first question he asked. It wasn't but had I gotten pulled over, if Michigan and Ohio don't have reciprocity, which they do, but if they didn't, and I failed to tell him, it's up to him to decide, all right, this guy's got no criminal record. He wasn't even breaking the law. It was just, he pulled me over because I hit the mute button and I swerved a little bit, but I didn't even leave my lane. And there's nobody else out there at 2 a.m. So he pulled me over just making sure, just double checking. It's up to that cop to go, do I throw the cuffs on him because he didn't declare it? Or do I go, hey, look, in Ohio, you may not know this, but in Ohio, you have to tell us it's no big deal, and set me on my way. And that's the difference between, being representing law enforcement in a good way or taking it to the nth degree where it's like, we're going to call up the dogs. We're going to search your vehicle over nothing. That's what you should really be concerned about, not whether or not somebody has a permit and they committed a crime and haven't been caught yet, and they haven't taken their permit yet.
Yeah, it was just a question. It was something I was thinking about, so I thought I'll ask. But I don't believe in permits anyway. You shouldn't. I mean, because it's another one of those infringements on the second.
Yeah, and here you got to report if you end up losing your permit, if you get charged with something or anything like that, you basically got to turn yourself in with your permit if it hasn't already been taken from you. The judges, you're going to have to go see the judge, the one who issued your permit, basically, and they'll make the decision. But depending on what it is, if it's that bad, they're probably just going to take it anyway. So, but if you don't show up, it doesn't matter because within, I think it's like 36 hours or something like that, you're just instantly a felon now because you own guns and your permit's valid or void. So you don't want to screw around with something like that because if it is a misunderstanding, you definitely want to jump on it because by the time, everything happens, you may be considered a felon even though you were trying to handle it the proper way, just by the time lag alone. So especially if you're injured in the hospital or something, then you're really screwed. You might legally get through it, but it's going to be a pain in the ass.
Judges issue licenses in New York?
Yeah, my county, it's the court, the local judge here issues the permit. So basically, you have to petition him and ask him for permission to get a permit to begin with after you did everything and paid for this and that and blah, 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 blah. So if anything comes up or if there's any issues, you end up in a drunk take, don't be surprised if you're not standing in front of him at the next day.
All right. Question for you real quick before we start winding this down. I didn't realize what the time was. So you've got a carry permit for New York State, correct?
Correct. Yep.
Is that valid in New York City?
No.
But New York City's in the state.
Correct. So it's some bullshit, unconstitutional crap that the government's pulled on us and the city and people allowed. Like the permits to begin with. We shouldn't have to prove our innocence. If they have an issue, they should bring it to us just like any other court case, in my opinion. So I'm not with permits either.
Yeah.
I think people need to grow a pair. Don't expect everybody else to protect you. They can't, even if they wanted to. So it's on you in the end.
Yeah. I agree. So that was a good conversation today, I thought, personally.
Just to back up there with that, Chief Justice is selected by the president and has to go through the nominated by the president and then confirmed by the Senate. So he can pick anybody. They don't have to be an associate justice before, so they could be a new guy if they want.
Yeah. So if it for what was it you that wrote there?
I don't know what I wrote.
Somebody wrote, or was it Gary?
No, I put
Somebody wrote something in there about he was just going to be okay. Because he was originally nominated for an associate justice position to replace Sarah Day O'Connor, but Rehnquist, was that his name, died during the nomination process, so Bush withdrew the original and renominated him chief. That's how he got it. So that means he got to appoint somebody else as an associate judge. So, but what I'm saying is, could he appoint an already sitting Supreme Court judge to make him Chief Justice?
Yeah.
So that's what I thought. But it would still have to be confirmed by the Senate to be the Chief Justice.
Yep.
I believe.
Straight off the Supreme Court page. So.
Yeah. So there you go. And we figured that one out. So. All right. So, you guys got anything else you want to bring up? No, nothing from the chat room either. So, let's go through here and we do our shout outs and all that good stuff. Well, since he hasn't said a word, the whole thing, I'll bypass that squib and we go to the other squib. Squib left. You got anything?
I guess not.
Okay, great. Appreciate it. Appreciate your input today. Really do.
Well, I was my normal irascible self.
Yes. Oh, yeah, I haven't got to live move. I'll get to that in a minute. Before I shut down, I'll go over the quiz question. All right, Willie Well Armed, you got anything?
Yeah, pertaining to the question, if you want to go look at my today's video and get the answer, you can.
Yeah, I saw that this morning. I saw that and I thought, you son of a bitch. New York Outcast, you got anything?
Just tell everybody, try to get a salad in there. Thanks for joining us. And back to that kids and morals and all that shit. If you know better, do better. It's a kind of a tacky saying, but don't short yourself or your kids to get along.
Well, I'm doing myself some burgers as soon as I get off of here, and so I'm technically having a salad with my burgers. I'm having lettuce, tomato, and onion on them. So as close as I'm getting to a salad today. So, Patriot in the Dark. You got anything?
Well, thanks for having a great show. And thanks for showing up, everyone. If you are bored and you're tired of looking at stupid cat videos or whatever the thing is that you like looking at, the next new Glock. Yes, Jerry, there is a new Glock, right? You can check out 1776unites.com. There's a free curriculum. It's pro-America and without all the horribleness, and it's for every race, creed, color, and check it out. There's a lot of good stuff on there.
Okay.
And it doesn't take much time, and it's free. So what else you got to do today?
All right. There you go. Okay. Okay, the quiz I'll read the question out. The quiz gets answered next Saturday at, you got to noon next Saturday to get the answer in. And the question is, the main character, Spike Spilligan, in the anime series Cowboy Bebop, I want to know, is the main handgun used by him? and email me at rickslifeasiseeit@gmail.com or spottedrick@gmail.com. Get it into me by lunchtime next Saturday, and you're in the chance for the swag pack. And to make life even easier, as Will and Well Armed said, a video he downloaded, I don't know if it was yesterday or this morning, has the answer right in the title. All right. Also, some good news. As I said, I normally mail out your prize packs at the end of the month, and so this coming Friday's the end of my month, because that's when I get paid, the first Friday of every month. Well, no, that's a lie. I get paid the Friday after the first Wednesday every month. So that's next Friday. Right? But what I want to say is I finally dug out the playing cards and everything else, and I've got Sabrina's package right here. I hope you can't see the address on it. I'll hold it backwards. But I got it all ready to go because hers got lost in the mail, so I'm sending her another package. I haven't forgotten you. There it is. So, and I got a couple of more here for the other people that have won this month too. See, so just when you let you know, I haven't forgotten about all you guys. I just do it once a month. So, all right. So that's it. So I want to say thank you to everybody in the chat for being here. I really do appreciate it. It's always good that you spend your Saturday afternoon with me. If you got any topics for this show or Wednesday evening, Shooting with Disabilities, write them down, email me, and I'll use them. I could do, if you got anything you want, let me know. If you got any questions or that you want to, that I can use in the quiz, I'll take those too. So,
does G23 have a show tonight?
Who?
G23?
I don't know. He normally does, doesn't he?
I believe so. I think I got a link from him just shortly.
Yeah.
Pretty sure. 99%.
Yeah.
So make sure you check that out.
All right. Yeah. Because the other guy this morning didn't have a show. He's having his tomorrow morning. Caliber Corners tomorrow
Travis,
morning.
Yeah, I know. I said check out the show today, last night on Budget Show, and I forgot that Travis had rescheduled it.
Yeah, because normally what happens is I normally listen to his show when I'm here on the computer setting stuff up and looking stuff up or getting ready for this. And it's gone now. I look at the thing that's gone 9 o'clock. I said, where in the hell is it? And it wasn't until I looked at it that he's doing it for tomorrow. G23 says, yes, sir, in the chat. So there you go. All right. So let me get over here if I can turn this off. So I want to say thank you to everybody for being here. I really do appreciate it. It's been fun, and I will see you all on Wednesday. So thanks for being here. So good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. See you, everybody.
Bamboo
Okay.
booty.